With Scott retiring and a new owner of the FNAF series on the horizon, the possibility of a reboot is there. With the current timeline being so messy and the game's possible next ending leading us anywhere, we thought it would be interesting to look at some of the catalysts they could use and the directions the series could go. That's what we're exploring today. Greetings gamers and welcome back to Top 10 Gaming. I'm Connor Monroe and this is the top 10 scary ways we can reboot FNAF. Let's do it. In at 10, game reveal. The reveal that an indie game developer was hired by Fazbear Entertainment to make games that made the company look bad drove us all kinda nuts. However, the question stood and still stands, what games are the games that they made? Have we played them or are they just in the game world but we haven't seen them? And I think this was obviously meant to be vague, but could result in a potential reboot to the game series just by saying the games we've been playing up until FNAF VR are the games that the Scott in-universe stand-in made. All of a sudden, anything coming after FNAF VR is the actual timeline and everything else gets explained away. I think it's set up like this so that if Scott or whoever is coming next wanted a reset button, they already had it installed into the series. Do I think that this is the direction they're going to go for a reboot? No, but it could be an interesting way of keeping everything relevant but sorting out the timeline. And at 9, killing William Afton. For good. One surefire way to reboot the series is to finally kill off the one and only purple guy. William Afton is like a cancer in the FNAF universe. This guy always comes back, and not to party with Ewoks like a forced ghost, but rather to cause more death and destruction like Palpatine. This guy is the reason FNAF is stuck in any sort of rut. If you think FNAF is getting stale, then this guy is the reason. Hell, I can't even wear purple on this channel without people commenting purple guy. If you really want to reboot FNAF, potentially for the better, then purple guy needs to be killed off permanently, or at least for a while, because he's holding this series back. We need a new deranged serial killer on the hunt for innocent souls to capture and use for experiments. Or hell, even someone trying to bring Afton back to life like how Wormtail was trying to bring Voldemort back. That's what we need to be able to move on in this series, so please, to go back to the Palpatine thing, do it. Do it. Use your anger. And at 8, it's a dream! Another catalyst that could shoot the FNAF games in another direction is the reveal that this was all a dream. Or I guess has been a dream, because it's in the past. This has been discussed since FNAF 4, and the idea that everything is a dream helps put a lot of questions we have to bed. It would also be absolutely atrocious if that ends up being the case, but hey, it's a way to reboot the series, right? They could also do the same thing that I mentioned with the game reveal. They could make every game but FNAF VR or Security Breach be a dream, making them their own separate existence that has no effect on the future of the series, which allows them to do more with the series going forward because let's be honest, the whole history of these games and the amount of contradictions and confusing points are holding the series back as well. If those moments weren't issues, like if they were dreams or if they were all in a video game in their own universe, the confusion that comes with the whole entirety of FNAF just goes away and it makes things way less complicated. And at 7, origin story. If instead we're looking at a way to make a new FNAF game instead of continuing with the current story, it would be changing to explanations. More specifically, an origin story of the Afton family. We could get explanations about the crying child, about Elizabeth, Michael, and William, but most importantly, William, because God knows we gotta settle some debates. And even turning the 8-bit minigames from FNAF 3 and 4 into full FNAF games could make things interesting. Since we're moving in a more open direction come Security Breach, we could get a similar style game to explain FNAF 4's minigames, since we would be playing as Crying Child who has to avoid characters in the FNAF 4 Freddy's location. Or we could have a similar style game to FNAF 1 where we play as William, where he's avoiding the ghosts of the missing children like we see in the FNAF 3 minigames, which could be interesting as well. And at 6, history repeats itself. We could also get a whole new series of games based on someone being a copycat killer. This concept is fairly common in media. Basically any crime show will have some form of copycat killer at some point that is either more brutal or scarily close to the original. Even shows like Arrow have seen copycats of the hero, and the games have moved slightly in that direction with the newer installments, so a new killer, whether it be Vanny or not, who is attempting to emulate Afton is certainly something that could happen. Will it be Vanny? Probably not. I think that Vanny is going to be a single game villain, especially with the William foreshadowing that we've been seeing in the Security Breach promotions, with the purple arm and the flashes of purple on Freddy and Friends on Tour episodes 1 and 2. And do I think we'll be seeing a copycat killer other than Vanny for a prolonged period of time? No. I think that she'll be in Security Breach and then be killed off or redeemed, and then Afton will come back. Halfway through into number 5, change of perspective. Changing perspectives for future games could be useful, like a Security Breach style game where we play as the missing children from the missing children's incident. This is nothing new. We've seen plenty of fan games like this, but why not make it an official game in the style of Security Breach? It would certainly make for an interesting addition to the series and help answer some questions we have, like if Chica was the first victim overall, or if she was only the first of the missing children. Additionally, the original missing children's incident had 5 victims, which could easily be translated into the 5 nights of a normal game. Susie, Jeremy, Fritz, Gabriel, Cassidy. Each kid you play as would have its own night and then get killed off one by one, because no matter what, I don't think that William was able to kill off all 5 children at once. It would be a more story-driven game, but that's fine with me, as it would give us some actual confirmed goddamn lore. And at 4, FNAF VR. FNAF VR really did some special things for the FNAF series. It serves as a sort of inflection point that pays homage to where the games came from, but also looks forward to where the games can go. And with someone new on the horizon, where the games are going got a lot foggier. So going back to FNAF VR, it can really serve as the start of the new games, since after all, this whole time we could have been beta testing for the FNAF games now. Since FNAFs 1 to 3 are fully in FNAF VR, along with elements from FNAF 4 and 5. And with the flat mode the game also got in a previous update, we could have been testing this game from the start, allowing us to forget everything else and focus on the future. That is, unless the new person taking over wants to pull a politician and say, oh, I can't do anything that I said I could because I need to fix the mistakes my predecessor left, which would probably cause a load of controversy that I would have to talk about. So, let's hope that doesn't happen. Getting close to the end, and at number 3, Fazbear Fanverse Initiative. The Fazbear Fanverse Initiative is also a wonderful way to reboot FNAF. With FNAF Plus being one of the most anticipated games in this series, it's literally the start of a new FNAF world, and not in the worrying RPG way. The Fanverse is one of the coolest, most intelligent things that Scott could have done before his retirement, because if everything goes bad, at least they have a whole other universe to use for their new main continuity. Who knows, that could even be what they're planning for all we know. The Fazbear Fanverse is like this clean slate that has none of the previous lore-breaking games to worry about. Sure, they have their own lore with Five Nights at Candy's and such, but it's still better than, you know, the kerfuffle that is the FNAF timeline. They're even getting their own FNAF 1 like I said, so anything can happen, and it looks like this may just be what we should be focusing on next. I'm just saying, I feel like they're building to something here. Maybe not something like extravagant, but I think that something's gonna be happening. And ultimately, in at number 2, into the FNAF verse. Multiverses have been all the rage lately, with Arrowverse having the biggest crossover in television history, Into the Spider-Verse being one of the most popular animated movies like ever, and No Way Home seemingly introducing that concept to the big screen. FNAF having a multiversal event that combines its main universe with the fanverse could be where they're headed next. Think about it. If these fan games got popular enough to be funded by Scott, why not be popular enough to get into the main series? And with William seemingly breaking all laws of physics, maybe he's going to break space-time. Or maybe that's where the arm from the Security Breach gameplay trailer came from. And these worlds are colliding much sooner than we expected. Which, if it is the case, you're screwing over the guy taking over next for you, Scott, but that's the kind of cutthroat tactics we need in the gaming industry. Make enough to be set for life and then leave all the timeline troubles and complaints to the ones coming after you. Damn, this really is like politics. Finally, and at number 1, Vanny. The most obvious way to reboot FNAF and change the narrative would be to continue on with the current obvious successor to William Afton, Vanny. She's the copycat that is being seemingly forced to kill for him because he's possessed her mind. But perhaps this breaks her. Maybe she adopts some of Afton's ideals and begins searching for the key to eternal life herself. Or she's lashing out because of all the horrible things she had to do while under his control. So she ends up committing more horrible acts. Maybe she becomes a hunter and travels across the United States running credit card scams so she can hunt down ghosts, witches, wendigos, demons, and more. All so that we don't have to deal with it. Or she just goes nuts because a serial killer who loved killing kids was the one who had taken over her mind. That would also be understandable, but not recommended. There are plenty of ways they can go with this, and if Afton leaves even a little bit of remnant in her brain, she will most likely have a little nutty going on, because like, it's Afton. I mean, if he leaves her alive, she's still probably gonna die. Just saying. There we have it, friends, the top 10 scary ways we can reboot FNAF. Do you think that FNAF is going to get a reboot, and how do you think they would do it if they did? Be sure you let me know down below. Thank you all so much for watching. I have been and shall remain Connor Monroe, and I'll see you in another video. This really is like politics. And I'm wearing a suit. With the ducky tie. Yes.
Just rip it, just tears.
I would actually cry. My suit tore.
Bye.